The 40th Ascent of Mont Blanc by Jules Verne. I arrived at Chamonix on the 18th of August, 1871, fully decided to make the ascent of Mont Blanc cost what it might. My first attempt in August 1869 was not successful. Bad weather had prevented me from mounting beyond the Grand Mulets. This time circumstances seemed scarcely more favourable, for the weather, which had promised to be fine on the morning of the 18th, suddenly changed towards noon. Mont Blanc, as they say in its neighbourhood, put on its cap and began to smoke its pipe, which, to speak more plainly, means that it is covered with clouds, and that the snow, driven upon it by a southwest wind, formed a long crest on its summit, in the direction of the unfathomable precipices of the Brenva glaciers. This crest betrayed to imprudent tourists the route they would have taken had they had the temerity to venture upon the mountain. The next night was very inclement. The rain and wind were violent, and the barometer, below the change, remained stationary. Towards daybreak, however, several thunderclaps announced a change in the state of the atmosphere. Soon the clouds broke. The chain of the Brevant and the Aiguille Rouge betrayed itself. The wind, turning to the northwest, brought into view above the Col de Balme, which shuts in the valley of Chamonix on the north, some light, isolated, fleecy clouds, which I hailed as the heralds of fine weather. Despite this happy augury and a slight rise in the barometer, Monsieur Balmain, chief guide of Chamonix, declared to me that I must not yet think of attempting the ascent. "If the barometer continues to rise," he added, "and the weather holds good, I promise you guides for the day after tomorrow, perhaps for tomorrow. Meanwhile, have patience and stretch your legs. I will take you up the Brevant. The clouds are clearing away, and you will be able to exactly distinguish the path you will have to go over to reach the summit of Mont Blanc. If, in spite of this, you are determined to go, you may try it." This speech, uttered in a certain tone, was not very reassuring, and gave food for reflection. Still, I accepted his proposition, and he chose as my companion the guide Edward Ravenel, a very sedate and devoted fellow who perfectly knew his business. Monsieur Donatien Levesque, an enthusiastic tourist and an intrepid pedestrian who had made early in the previous year an interesting and difficult trip in North America, was with me. He had already visited the greater part of America and was about to descend the Mississippi to New Orleans when the war cut short his projects and recalled him to France. We had met at Aix-les-Bains, and we had determined to make an excursion together in Savoy and Switzerland. Donatien Levesque knew my intentions, and as he thought that his health would not permit him to attempt so long a journey over the glaciers, it had been agreed that he should await my return from Mont Blanc at Chamonix, and should make the traditional visit to the Mer de Glace by the Montaverse during my absence. On learning that I was going to ascend the Brevant, my friend did not hesitate to accompany me thither. The ascent of the Brevant is one of the most interesting trips that can be made from Chamonix. This mountain, about 7,600 feet high, is the only prolongation of the chain of the Aiguille Rouge, which runs from the southwest to the northeast, parallel with that of Mont Blanc, and forms with it the narrow valley of Chamonix. The Brevant, by its central position exactly opposite the Bosson Glacier, enables one to watch the parties which undertake the ascent of the giant of the Alps nearly throughout their journey. It is therefore much frequented. We started about 7 o'clock in the morning. As we went along, I thought of the mysterious words of the master guide. They annoyed me a little. Addressing Ravenel, I said, "Have you made the ascent of Mont Blanc?" "Yes, monsieur," he replied. "Once, and that's enough. I am not anxious to do it again." "The deuce," said I. "I am going to try it." "You are free, monsieur, but I shall not go with you. The mountain is not good this year. Several attempts have already been made. 2 only have succeeded. As for the second, the party tried the ascent twice. Besides, the accident last year has rather cooled the amateurs." "An accident? What accident?" "Did monsieur not hear of it? This is how it happened. A party consisting of 10 guides and porters and 2 Englishmen started about the middle of September for Mont Blanc. They were seen to reach the summit. Then, some minutes after, they disappeared in a cloud. When the cloud passed over, no one was visible. The 2 travellers, with 7 guides and porters, had been blown off by the wind and precipitated on the Courmayeur side, doubtless into the Brenva glacier. Despite the most vigilant search, their bodies could not be found. The other 3 were found 150 yards below the summit, near the Petit Moulet. They had become blocks of ice. "But these travellers must have been imprudent," said I to Ravenel. "What folly it was to start off so late in the year on such an expedition! They should have gone up in August." I vainly tried to keep up my courage. This lugubrious story would haunt me in spite of myself. Happily, the weather soon cleared, and the rays of a bright sun dissipated the clouds which still veiled Mont Blanc, and at the same time those which overshadowed my thoughts. Our ascent was satisfactorily accomplished. On leaving the chalets of Plan-Praz, situated at a height of 2,062 yards, you ascend on ragged masses of rock and pools of snow to the foot of a rock called the Chimney, which is scaled with the feet and hands.